question whether the New Testament manuscripts are reliable is hugely important and is on the frontal lobe of all sorts of people today, those who've read Bart Ehrman's Misquoting Jesus, to Muslim apologists, to just the average guy on the street. If you've read Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, you hear Sir Lee Teabing say, you know, the Bible has been translated and retranslated so many times that we can't possibly know what the original text said. And that's almost the standard response that people who want to put the Bible at arm's distance say about it. But there's a lot of myths that go with that. And for one thing, every time the Bible's been retranslated, it doesn't mean those translators say, okay, now I'm done with that one, let's burn that old manuscript. It doesn't work like that. Just to put this in perspective, when the King James translators did their work, they based their New Testament on essentially 6 New Testament manuscripts, the earliest of which came about 500 years earlier than when the King James was produced. Now we have, almost 400 years later, we have about 1,000 times as many manuscripts as they had. And our earliest don't come 500 years earlier. Our earliest manuscripts go all the way down to the 2nd century. It's a huge difference. And so as time goes on, we're actually getting closer to the original, both in the number of manuscripts and in the dates of those manuscripts. So I think on a general scale, you can say we're making great progress towards that. But the question you're asking about reliability is the question of how good of a witness are these manuscripts to that original or that autographic text? And since we don't have the originals, we have to estimate. We don't have the absolute facts to say, I know for sure on the basis of evidence that this goes back to the original. What we can argue is on the basis of probability. And the probability is so overwhelmingly strong that the manuscripts, at least 98% of the time, go back to the original. It's absolutely overwhelming. Just to give an illustration, the growth of the text of the New Testament from the earliest times up until the time of the printing press, so from the 1st century when they were originated, all the way up until 1516 when Erasmus published the first Greek New Testament on a printing press, that growth is about 2%. So people talk about how the majority text or the manuscripts behind the King James added lots of material, and King James only advocates say, well, you know, you guys are cutting out parts of the Word of God, and my argument would be, it's not that we only have 98% of the Word of God, it's that you guys have 102%, and we need to cut out 2% of that dross to get to the gold kind of thing, you know. So that's it, 2% growth over 1,400, 1,500 years. Nobody's going to bet on that. That's a terrible investment. So it's not a massive growth like people would normally get the image of when they read a book like Misquoting Jesus.